All right, this is a hard video to make. This is kind of tough, this subject. So, we're talking about racism. Can you be racist against white people or not? Is it okay to be racist against white people? Um, Saw a couple of videos this morning, really good information, very thought provoking. I thought they were put together respectfully, and I agree and I disagree with a lot of it. Number one thing I want to touch on, can you be racist to white people? This is hard. So I think, yes, you can be racist towards white people, but here's the problem. If you're in America, the system is rigged for white Europeans. That is 100% true. Unfortunately, though, just because you're a white European doesn't mean you are as privileged as every other white person. I am not as privileged. Um, I do have a lot of struggles uh, in my life that I think are a lot of times due to that I'm a female. It kind of doesn't have anything to do with my skin color. It has to do with the fact that I'm a woman. So I could start that out right there. I really don't think a lot of what I experience is racism towards my color. It's because I'm a female. Um, that I think is a major, major problem. And like I said, I have privilege. I do. But I'm not quite as privileged as other people. I was born with a Japanese name. Um, I have noticed, and I've tried to speak on this before. There's a bunch of things in my life that really I didn't understand. I didn't understand the cause of it. I didn't understand why it was happening. Um, After 48 years, I'm going to be 49 in June. I'm getting a clue. So part of the problem is my name. My name has always been the same, except for I was adopted. I've been through marriages, and so my last name has changed. But it kind of never mattered what my last name was. It's always my first name. The one thing I did notice, and kind of I internalize a lot of things, and so I internalized it rather than understanding what was actually going on. One example, if I go put in an application somewhere, if I don't do it with my face in hand and hand it to you, I do not get callbacks. I've noticed that problem my whole life. Like, I have to actually like get in your face and get you my application, then I get a job. I've never quite understood that. And then finally, about 6 years ago, I got the hint. So what happens is when I put in my application with everybody else, you see my name, it's Asian. So that automatically cuts me out of a system. Um, that those issues are real. And then I have to get my application in front of your face, and then you see I'm a white person, and then you're like, oh, and that actually infuriates me and offends me. That, okay, you don't think I'm worth a job when you thought I was Asian, but now that, oh, she's a white girl, we can give her a shot. That that part of it does bother me. So there are problems in our system that you can't ignore. Uh, a lot of times with education. Now, here's my problem. I can't say it's 100% because there are people. I can't count how many black women here in Colorado Springs that have accomplished more than I have. And I think about that. I'm like, wow, look at what they have done. They've had to face similar obstacles to me because they're a woman. But can you imagine also being a different color and that as a woman as well? And so I can see that racism, those ideas can't hold, like, it can't hold everybody down. But the problem is, I don't think enough people actually get a shot, if that makes any sense. Um, I'm of the generation that was taught to ignore skin color, uh, i.e., television in America. When I was very young, it really did not depict anybody but white people. All the television shows, everything was the white picket fence family. Leave It to Beaver. Uh, what was my other ones that I used to watch? Leave It to Beaver. Um, I don't know why I'm pausing right now because there's a lot of examples. I'm just, I guess, pausing because I'm trying to think of ones that I enjoyed. Andy Griffith. There's just so many television shows where our American media was just strictly white. And it was so bad to point of music where in order for a person of another color to be on the stage, that wasn't acceptable. So we do the blackface, that type of stuff, that's really offensive type of stuff. So there is issues. Um, I, in the system, we're talking about many different things here. That's why this topic can get so confusing. There's racism in our government system, and then in the public sector and the private. There's a lot of issues in a lot of those areas. Uh, Now, I have experienced it the other way, and it is kind of, how do I explain it? The person that is shouting racial slurs at me and being racist against me, they're never really a person of power or privilege. That's my problem. It's somebody walking, living on the streets is sitting there screaming at me because I've had that happen here in Colorado Springs. This has never happened to me before, and it was very interesting. I started getting called the White Devil in I honestly, 2010. Like, people would just walk up to me and scream that I was a white devil, and I'd be like, okay, because they weren't they're not above me in power wise. It didn't affect me. They could scream all their slurs that they wanted. But it didn't actually affect me. So that's why I kind of just left it alone. Obviously, this person has a lot of bad messages, bad energy in them. There's reasons for them to feel this way. It's not like they woke up one day and were like this. No, they've had generations of hatred and non-compassion, everything shown at them. So I kind of just don't really, they have bad ideas. I don't count that as racism because it's not something that really affected me. It hurt my feelers, but okay. I can't, that's something I can't worry about. I did have another experience where I was running for office here. It quickly devolved into people actually pointing at their skin color and saying, you can't vote for somebody who's not your skin color. That's honestly what happened. I chose to ignore it. I chose to not engage in that thinking and ignore it. I find it sad that somebody can only identify with somebody as long as they're the same color. That actually freaks me out a lot because that's just as good as the KKK. There's no difference. So if you run around and point at your skin and you can't identify with anybody because you're black and you can't identify with them because they're not black and you got to point at your skin color, then that's also a big issue. I think I jumped though because this leads into this. Back in the 70s, 60s, and 70s, there's things called Star Trek. There's a lot of television that came out during that time. And I think I'm a product of that. The first interracial kiss, the whole cast member on Star Trek, everybody was different and in ethnicities, and it showed everybody working together. I believe Star Trek was the first one to have an interracial kiss. I'm looking at how much time I got left to record. This is going to be a long video. I hope not. So I think that honestly has a lot to do with my thinking. It's the media I absorbed as a child. I was very fortunate, I think, in that aspect. There were so many television shows that came out that I would watch when I was little, and I liked them. There was, God, I have a hard time talking about it now because he's not a great guy anymore. He ends up being bad. But when I was younger, Bill Cosby, he had a lot of television shows and cartoons that I used to watch when I was younger. A lot. Fat Albert and all that. Like, those were some of my favorite television shows. Now, fast forward in life, he ain't a good guy. But we're talking about just the media. Jeffersons. I love that. That's show. I used to watch the Jeffersons all the time. There's so many. Hold on, I gotta think of the name. They owned like a junkyard. What was that? Don't worry, I have trouble with white people programming just like this too, to think of their names. So don't read into that. What was that? I have the Jeffersons song stuck in my head right now. Moving on to the... Got that one. Oh boy, what was it? It was a junkyard, and it was Red Fox. And he used to anytime anybody would piss him off, I'm coming. He was going to have a heart attack every time somebody irritated him. I'm coming. What was that name? I'll think of it. It'll pop into my head in a minute. Anyway, so that's my point though. So I got to see this evolution, and that quickly is devolved as well. I know how do I explain it? Through public education, through my family, through people in my communities, they did try to teach that somehow because you're white, you're superior to everybody else. And I never saw that. I never understood it, and it didn't make any sense. One thing I have noticed is my family, my lineage, we've been here in America for a really long time. We are immigrants. It's not going to change. Just because I'm a native of Colorado does not change the fact that my family are immigrants. I think a lot of people need to remember that. They've forgotten that part. So we've been here, but I have never understood that. And I've noticed, like, culture wise, I don't feel like I actually have a culture. Like, not like a European, like what do we do? Like, we don't have that stuff here anymore. I guess some people feel like maybe celebrating Columbus Day is your heritage or culture, and that's not either. Uh, so there were those messages that they tried to impart on me that somehow because of my skin color I'm better than everybody else, or I'm holier, or I'm not a mistake. And that is a complete falsehood, 100%. I've never bought on to that thinking. It makes no sense to me. There's no way on this earth that anybody is better than the other because of their skin color. That's just not the truth. I've actually noticed the other way. And I don't know what to tell people. If you don't see it this way, I don't know what to tell you. But this is how I see it. Let me gather my thought for a second. Hold on. Thinking. I'm trying to respectfully gather my thoughts. I might have to pause here for a minute to think for a second. And then we'll get back. So we're going to end the video here for a minute, and we'll do part 2 in a minute. All right. Bye.